Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the talk. I have with me adult entertainer Mia Lai. So thank you for
Mia
being on the
Lee.
podcast.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Mia Lee.
Mia Lee, everybody, Mia Lee. Now, you've been in the adult industry for a while. How do you classify yourself?
I am an adult film performer, but considering that puts me in the category of sex worker, I also acknowledge that I am a webcam model. I also have pro-domed, as well as done live performances in the same realm of adult film.
So, how did you first get into this entire adult entertainment, pro dom, webcam, sex worker
Sex work.
industry?
Yeah, well, I had moved from Wisconsin, where I went to college, to San Diego, and when I moved out here, I had a square job. And I hadn't planned on it being seasonal. I had planned on making a career out of that. I was working in education, and the opportunity kind of closed on me and dried up come summer. And so I had an opportunity to choose a path for myself that would be honoring parts of myself that I felt like I couldn't express and just really explore. And so I turned to adult. And everyone has a different entry point into adult film. And I found mine through Craigslist of all things, because I knew once I got my foot into the door, I could network and find different ways to navigate this. And so I found an independent manager. From there, he got me into webcamming, introduced me into that world. And after about two scenes with companies I actually would shoot for again later, I dropped that manager because I very clearly understood that that manager was someone who was definitely taking advantage of people who were new to the industry and looking to get into this industry, but I wasn't having any of that. And so I got an agency to represent me, and now I'm with my current agency because I had outgrown my previous one. And yeah, I've been shooting adult films for 3 years and change now.
And so, kind of growing up, were you kinky growing up? Like, how did you discover that you have this natural sexuality to you?
Well, I've always been very sexually curious and always looking for different resources to explore that sexuality. I wasn't very sexually active growing up as a teenager because I was in this like long distance, very serious high school romance, and I didn't start having sex until I left for college. And so all this time I was consuming different media pertaining to sex, like porn, erotic novels, lots of Harry Potter fan fiction, and different things to sate my curiosity in regard to sex and really learn about that. And also, because of that and pursuing those things, I really had a grasp of what I wanted sexually and certain ideas. Like, I've always known that I was bisexual, and that or rather queer, I think is a more appropriate title, because I'm not just attracted to the binary. So I've always known I wasn't straight forever, and then I just educated myself sexually through media.
And so, you obviously were in California,
Yes.
and how did you said you found it on Craigslist. I mean, what did you type in on Craigslist to go and find this?
Well, to fit into the realm of legitimacy in Craigslist, there's this tab under the jobs listing, jobs listings like TV and film. And that's where a lot of people who want to kind of take percentages off of webcam models say, like, hey, want to work from home? Here, do you want to even pull one up right now and give you a read of like what's available on the internet? We have the technology.
Sure,
Because this is like a
let's
real thing that
talk
exists.
about this.
Anyone that has access to Craigslist, okay, let's find this. Okay, right here from the beginning. This is posted in San Diego, October 13th. Fun fetish modeling, work in studio, 18 to 26-year-old. I'm going to click on this. It says like 50 to 100 per hour. Fetishes include balloons, belly buttons, smoking lingerie, pantyhose, bubble gum, bubbles. So this, and it says no nudity required. Only shoot what you are comfortable with. That is essentially a fetish modeling shoot, even though people looking at this may not identify this as sex work, but it very well can be because this is a type of modeling that I can be hired for other kink companies that actually have like sex involved in it. But these are fetishized things that are consumed because they are sexualized by the consumers. And let's go back to Craigslist and see what it says. Webcam model jobs start tonight. It's all caps. And it says the #1 live cam network in the world wants you. Up to 75 an hour. Employment type is part-time. And it's trying to like hook people in, seeking guys and girls 18 years and older because you have to be that age to legally be allowed to do this, and earn up to 10,000 a month or more just for chatting online. But what they don't say is that webcam modeling is very sexualized, and the clientele there, the members there, are looking for an exchange of emotional sexual labor through webcamming. So yeah, that's how a lot of people can get their start and find little ads that connect people and then connect to the next person, connect to the next person, and then suddenly they find themselves in Hustler.
And obviously, I mean, there's a lot of issues with Craigslist and other sites. How do
I'm
you?
not advocating for it.
Not at
I'm just
all.
saying, find your way, because that's like the #1 question all performers get. Like, how can you help me to get into adult film? Like, everyone finds a way.
I mean, how do you know that something's legit, and how do you stay safe in this entire industry?
And this, well, at the onset, I was definitely taking that risk because what I wanted was that entry point into the wizarding world. You know, like I knew this industry existed and had for decades. And now I just needed a way to get in and then talk to the right people to then determine what is my standard of safety and professionalism. And now I'm very comfortable and confident in every set that I come onto because they have been vetted. I know the industry enough. I know enough people to ask, like, hey, what's the reputation of this company? What's their site like? Like, I always need that reference of like, okay, you want to shoot me for the site at this rate with this content. Okay, well, who's your talent? Do you use the past testing system? What's your testing standard? It's for the industry, like, it's very easy to see who's legit or not because they're like, I don't know what PASS is. PASS is like the performer database where our tests are submitted so we can know that other performers are safe to shoot with. And if they don't even know that, then of course they're not legitimate. And also if like their domain name turns up a blank page, like why would I shoot for you?
And now, speaking, one of the companies that you have done a lot of shoots for is Kink. How did you get
Yeah.
involved with Kink?
I love kink.com. I think I was first booked for an Ultimate Surrender. I'm not sure if any of the listeners or you have like looked at my Twitter or my social media. I'm kind of a fit lady. I'm very active. I rock climb a lot, so I'm very strong, and that's very apparent in my media out there. And so I was booked to shoot Ultimate Surrender, which is a competitive lesbian wrestling site where it's 3 rounds of competitive lesbian wrestling with sexual submissions and different styles of wrestling that's safe. Like no direct chokeholds and all that stuff. And then the last round, the loser gets fucked with a strap on. And so I was hooked in that. And that was like my first site that I shot for with Kink. And then from there, I was referred to other different sites. And now I've shot for almost all of them.
And so, with Ultimate Surrender, because we're going to talk about that, did you have any background in wrestling or any background in grappling?
Absolutely not. The first time I've ever truly wrestled was on Ultimate Surrender. And you learn very quickly. Like, I'm lucky that I'm a quick learner when it comes to kinesthetic stuff because I've been an athlete most of my life. But I definitely could learn more. I'm not the strongest in technique. I'm just really fucking strong because I rock climb 3 to 4 times a week, which is a really intense workout. But that's my recreation on top of running and top of yoga, on top of biking and hiking. So I'm just very, very physically fit. I'm just picking up technique as I compete more and more with Ultimate Surrender. And I've been doing that almost as long as my career.
And you've wrestled a lot of people in Ultimate Surrender. Do you have a
Yes.
favorite person you wrestled? Do you have a favorite person you beat? Do you have a favorite fourth round that you were engaged in?
That's really hard to say because it's such a different environment. I know that there are definitely people that I know that I'm totally fucked when I come onto the mat with them because I know their technique, I know their background, I know how strong they are. And also, I'm really small. I'm 5'1". I'm very muscular, but I'm still very short. And people with long limbs with technique, I'm fucked, literally. And so I know that I definitely know that the chances and the odds are against me when I'm matched against Stacey Ducati. She's very strong. She has a lot of technique. I've wrestled with her a lot, and she's whooped me. I know Isamar is a champ in Ultimate Surrender, although I do love her very much. I've learned so much from her as a wrestler. But any particular favorite play you're really excited about? I just get excited for the opportunity to wrestle like hot babes, and if I lose, if I win, we're gonna have sex anyway, so it's kind of great. I see I'm making you giggle. Are we gonna get to Prop 60 stuff, dude?
Eventually.
I mean, we should.
And then following Ultimate Surrender,
Yeah.
obviously people who know me know that I am a fan. What other sites have you shot for with kink, and how
Okay.
they compare to Ultimate Surrender?
Let's do the list, and then you can pick because there's a lot of sites I've shot for. I've shot on top of Ultimate Surrender. I've shot Whipped Ass as a sub and dom. I've shot the Upper Floor as a sub, but also like the higher in the pecking order slave, and I've also attended. I've shot Sex and Submission. I've shot Hogtied, Device Bondage, Electro Sluts, a ton. Divine Bitches, Everything But, TS Pussy Hunters. And I think those are the sites I've shot for.
So talk about Whipped Ass. You said you were both a sub and a dom.
Yeah. So when I first got my start on Whipped Ass, I was subbing. So Whipped Ass focuses on a lot of corporal play and impact play on, you would guess it, a butt, on an ass that is whipped. And there's usually like strap-on sex. It's a lesbian site, so it's always girl or more than one couple of girls. And yeah, I subbed for that. I'm trying to remember. My first one was with Lily Cade, and I was this like naughty secretary sort of situation, and then we had sex in her office. And then when I topped, most recently, I topped Sadie Santana, and I was this horrible, really shitty neighbor playing my ukulele super loud, and all she wanted to do was just chill out. And she came over and was so mad because I was such an inconsiderate neighbor. And I was like, yo, you just gotta chill. It's okay. Let's self-care. Let's take care of you. And then I fucked her and like spanked her a lot and did all sorts of things to her. And it was really fun.
So do you prefer to sub or dom?
I'm a switch, so I like both dependent on my mood, really, and what's going on. Because like performing is definitely emotionally heavy, and depending on like what I've been doing or how I am, I have a preference for either like subbing or doming.
And now the other one I want to talk about is TS Pussy Hunters.
Yeah.
What is that like?
It's really wonderful sex with hot babes who happen to have a cock, and they're also wonderful. I've shot with Venus Lux and Chelsea Marie. And was that it? I feel like I'm missing one. Because I've also shot for Evil Angels TS DVD line. But I think those are the two for... No, one more. I'm really fucking up. I think... Not Lana Knight, but something Knight. I forget her name, and please forgive me if you end up listening, my dear. I remember it was a Thanksgiving special one, and I love that scene. But I'm sorry, your name escapes me right now. So I've shot like I think 3 times for TS Pussy Hunters. It's really fun.
And now I know that usually with TS Pussy Hunters, usually the other woman tops. Have you ever topped a TS?
Have I topped? Oh, yes. Did I top? No. I don't think I topped. I kind of like power bottomed in my scene with Chelsea Marie. So the setup was we were like a long time, I think, married couple, and we're like snuggling. And I have this deep, dark secret because I've come across BDSM porn. And I have to confess to Chelsea, I'm like, I'm sorry, I have something to tell you. Like, I like kinky porn. And then I walked her through her doming me, and she really took charge. But it was kind of like this thing that I really like in this BDSM. But like TS Pussy Hunters isn't so BDSM heavy as it's just like, oh, it's a TS female and a cis female having sex.
And now, with all the work with kink, how
Mm-hmm.
often are you tested, and how much information do you know about your partner that you're working with?
Well, it doesn't matter what company I'm shooting with. Every 2 weeks, I get tested because that is the standard for the adult film industry. And that gets put to the PASS database. And we have two different bio collection like agencies or laboratories, so to speak, that we go to that collect our blood and our urine to see if we are clean. And then the other performers that we're performing with have to also take the same blood and urine test to make sure that they are clean as well within that 14-day window. And if they are, then we are able to shoot together. And if they are not, we have to have a different talent. So I trust them. I know that they're tested. I know that they've been tested in the last 14 days.
And now, with a lot of people think that a lot of people come into this industry for quick money, as well as. So, what exactly is I guess what I'm getting at is the industry profitable, or do you have to work for every dollar, or is it
Well,
different?
it's different. Again, everyone has a very different narrative and path in adult film. Some people just make clip sites. They never step in front of the camera that's not their own. So the payment tiers is very different dependent on what you do. I webcam as well as shoot, so my finances are different, like month to month, depending on how much I'm shooting and how much I'm camming. That's a very personal question, but just like any other industry, any other entertainment industry, we all make money different ways. So it's hard to make a blanket generalization saying like, oh yeah, all of us are in the salad days. We're all making tons of money. That's not the case. We all have to figure out what our hustle looks like and what that is and what's comfortable for us. Because some people just shoot porn or are adult performers seasonally. Like the first dude that I shot with for Reality Kings, he was just this guy that would shoot in the summers while he was on summer vacation and he'd go back to college. Like he wasn't a lifer. So it's very different depending on your situation and what you want to make of it.
I mean, are you an independent contractor when you shoot with all these
Yeah.
different companies?
Yeah. I'm an independent
That's what I'm
contractor.
getting at with that
Yes.
question.
Yeah. Yes, I'm an independent contractor in that I shoot with a bunch of different other companies. Some people are contract people where they only shoot with one company for a set period of time and aren't able to shoot with other companies. It's all very different. And then again, like you can be an independent contractor in that like you're just an entrepreneur and just shoot for your own clip site or like for your friend sites and just do trade. It all really depends on what you want to make of it and what
And
you can make of it.
and then I know that you were webcamming with Kink for a while, and you've also webcam with Streamate.
Yeah.
How do those two differ? Obviously, Kink kind of closed down, and that's in another company. And how does Streamate work? How did Kink work? And other webcam sites that you work for?
Well, I really loved Kink Live when it was running well. I loved it very much because the member pool was very dedicated and it was much more a community. It was a smaller group of individuals who originally came to Kink for whatever niche they were looking for or for whatever reason. And it was much more personable and I was able to cam much more easily on there. And I really enjoyed my time. I have some members that followed me over to Streamate where I cam now. And Streamate's very different because it's such a massive entity that like if I see someone in my room one day, I may just never see them again. Whereas at Kink, like chances are I'm going to run into this individual again in my cam room because the community is just so small. And it's just a very different type of camming because on Kink, I would say the majority of my members that would pull me into session did want a submissive, dominant sort of situation, whatever, wherever they fall on the spectrum, or whatever kink falls in that, in what I was able to provide. Whereas Streammate is pretty vanilla. It's very straightforward. Even though I do have plenty of kinksters who fall out of like the typical heteronormative sexual tropes of like, yeah, I just really want to see your pussy and like tell me about my big dick and stuff. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not the kinky diversity that I would find at Kink Live.
And now, obviously, I mean, kink was definitely more of a fetish community. Do you prefer the fetish side of things more over than the vanilla side?
I would say that I definitely miss what the BDSM community brought, which was a greater awareness of consent, a greater awareness of boundaries, how to communicate better with their performer. Like there's a higher standard of like, okay, this is how we interact with one another because consent in BDSM culture is so important, so integral into that community. Like to talk about like, hey, I'm gonna like whip you or do these things to you. You have to talk about like what are you okay with and these boundaries, and consent is always talked about. Whereas in Streammate, they're like, hey, can you just fist yourself? Like, take me into a session already, and I'm already in the session. I'm like, okay, I'm here now. It's like, can you fist yourself? I'm like, there was no lead into this. You don't even know if I'm doing anal today. And you're asking me to fist myself? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'll play it cool, be like, I don't know. I didn't stretch today. Maybe I'll just do a finger. And like, that's fine, but there wasn't like a lead-in conversation asking about my boundaries. Whereas when people would come into my kink room, they're like, "Hey, are you a sub or a dom?" And I would say like, "Oh, I'm kind of both, depending on what I feel. Like, what are you looking for? Like, this is what I'm looking for. Does this work?" So there's more of a conversation there. Not to say that there aren't individuals that are mindful of that on Streammate. Not to say that there weren't individuals who didn't get it at all on Kink Live side, but the standard for those conversations was definitely higher in Kink Live, in my experience.
Now, we just spoke about a lot of things, and I mean, we're just kind of scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
Are there any stigmas that you find in the industry that you're still subjected to?
Let's see. I wouldn't say that well, there's definitely like microaggressions, like, wow, you're so smart for a porn performer. Like, wow, you're so prepared. Even though the sad truth of it is, like, not everyone's always prepared. And some people are kind of like a mess, just like with any other industry, especially when it's such like an independent contractor to independent contractor sort of situation. But the things that are definitely there that I'm not into is like the homophobia and the transphobia that I really dislike. Like, and also just fragile masculinity. Like, it's okay, dude, that you like having your butt licked. That's cool, but don't talk shit on like dudes that take it up the butt or like are gay for pay. I also understand that there's definitely stigma in that regard because in the kinky community, there's more acceptance toward, say, cisgendered female performers having relationships with a dude that is a crossover performer who happens to be gay for pay or do that sort of thing. But in the vanilla side of things, like that can get you blacklisted. They don't want to work with you because they think you're dirty. Even though some people who work in the gay side may just work for companies that adhere to the PASS system, that do test, that also use condoms on top of testing, like all these things. You just have to like look at the nitty gritty, but I think it definitely feeds into some Latin homophobia and some Latin transphobia that there is out there.
And now Prop 60 is going on. I
Yeah,
I don't
great.
know if many people listening know what Prop 60 is about, what the story behind it is, and maybe you could help educate.
Okay, well, let me educate the people out there, and hopefully if this gets posted before October 24th, the deadline in California to register to vote is October 24th, so please, please, please do that. So it's vote.gov, and you can just register there. So Prop 60 is a proposition that will be on the November ballot in California. It's a legislation that affects the adult film industry and just that industry. It is called the Safer Sex and Adult Film Initiative or Adult Film Act. And I want people to vote no on it. The majority of the adult film industry opposes it because we have not had any part in the development of this legislation that will, by and large, affect us and affect us negatively. So the lead in, because people will be getting information in the mail, is like, oh, adult film performers have to wear condoms when there is penetrative sex. But it's not about just using condoms. Like, one, that takes away all of our choices in regard to managing our sexual health, in regard to our testing system that has been created by the industry, so we're self-regulated. But not only that, it's the implementation of like bounty hunting, of incentivized harassment. So to enforce this, any private citizen in California, any California resident could now sue a performer or a producer, because they're oftentimes one and the same. And in this lawsuit will be extremely costly to the performer and potentially ruin them, and put all of the private information that has been taken from that lawsuit, our legal name, our home address, and other sensitive private information that is private for a reason, and it will be put on the public record, meaning it's all too accessible to people who want to harass us. On top of that, the private citizen filing the lawsuit will gain 25% of the litigation fees. So there is a financial incentive for a California resident to sue a performer if they see any single frame of that performer or producer's content not showing barrier protection, which is insane because, of course, there is going to be at least a single frame where it's not shown. Like, that's how bodies are. Like, you want to see kissing, right? You want to see other things than just genitals, right? And it's not about that. It's really just about destroying the industry and making it impossible for us to do our jobs. It'll cost like taxpayers millions of dollars and divert resources from education and law enforcement. Like, we'd much rather have that taxpayer money go toward the community because it needs it. Like, we're a self-regulating industry. We do not need this legislation. It takes us way back. It'll drive the industry underground where it is dangerous for us to do our jobs and to advocate for ourselves and be safe. And it singles out the industry. No other worker in California can be sued like the workers in the adult film industry if Prop 60 passes. So people need to vote no on this.
And now, is there anything else dealing with Prop 60? Is there any groups kind of organizing to,
Oh
get
yeah,
the vote out?
no, totally. Do you want to read the list of people? It's going to be a very long list.
Selectively, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know it's a lot to take
I
in
know that
because
on
it's a,
Twitter there's a lot of adult
well,
entertainers
all
with the
performers are
pictures.
against it. But on top of that, for our endorsements, we have so many. We have, in regard to the parties, we have the California Democratic Party, we have the California Republican Party, we have the California Libertarian Party, as well as all the other different Democratic clubs and Republican clubs and different parties within the small areas and different constituents of California against this. And on top of that, the media outlets that have spoken out publicly against this and have published articles against this, the LA Times, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Diego Union Tribune, the East Bay Times, the Fresno Bee, like so many more. San Diego City Beat. Like, I did a few like interviews for San Diego City Beat, specifically speaking out against Prop 60. People know that this is a horribly written and dangerous piece of legislation, and it preys on well-meaning individuals because its title is so polarizing. Safer Sex and Adult Film Act sounds so good, but it's so bad. It's not about safe sex at all. Like, they're preying on the taboos and the stigmas that exist against performers. They're just further marginalizing the adult film community, which is already made of so many marginalized groups.
And now to back away from Prop 60.
Yeah, it's a stress case. I can't wait for the election to be over. Oh my gosh.
Do you have a favorite fetish or fetishes that you enjoy doing on cam and shooting?
My favorite fetishes. That's really hard to say. Can my fetish be fucking my friends? My friends performers? Because like we know how to fuck each other really well. So it doesn't matter if it's just like, okay, you, Mia Lee, and Ella Nova, you're booked to do this scene together. And like done. I don't care if we're like sitting on balloons covered in butterscotch pudding, like we can sell that because we know each other. Like I love my whole family, which is like my whole fam are my performer friends that I consider my family in the adult film industry. And we know how to fuck each other really, really well. So whatever scene that we're booked with to do together, like we're going to fucking kill it. So that's my fetish, fucking my friends.
There's a great quote. A lot of wrestlers use it. They like to fight their friends in the ring because they
Yeah.
hit their friends the hardest. It's I don't know if you're a wrestling fan. Triple H and Shawn Michaels have
Yeah.
had great matches against each other, and they beat the shit out of each other.
Oh my gosh.
So is
Yeah.
that kind of like with you and your friends? You just fuck the shit
Yeah.
out of each other?
Yeah, because we know how to communicate. Like I've shot with Elanova a bunch of times, and she's like my hoe bestie. We have this like ongoing Harry Potter role play. Like no joke, we'll start talking as if we're like Luna Lovegood and Cho Chang. Clearly, I am Cho Chang because I'm Asian, and she's like super blonde. But it's like for realsies, like we're best hoe friends, and like no matter what scene, if it's like pretty vanilla, or if it's kinky, or if she's topping me, or if like I'm topping her, it's gonna be good because we're like crazy kinky awesome performers, and also we know each other.
I know that you're kind of a musician with the ukulele. How'd you get
Yeah.
into that?
Oh, okay. So funny story. I would be trying to kill time while I was webcamming way back in the day on my free cams. Way back in the day. That's like OG camming back then. And I would just like play and fiddle foul my ukulele that I picked up at a used guitar shop. It was like $35, and now I have like 8 ukuleles. Yeah, and it's like my ukuleles have appeared in several pornos. So yeah, lots of ukuleles everywhere in my life.
And then how do you feel? You've been involved in the industry for a few years now. How do you feel that it has changed?
I think because of Prop 60, I hate to bring it back to that horrible thing, but we've definitely organized a lot more. We definitely are aware of the variety of people who make up this community and how we are able to support one another and rely on one another, especially with this very hard fight. So that's something that I really am happy to have seen. Yeah, I'm really, really happy about that.
And then finally, do you have anything you would like to promote? Facebook,
Yeah,
Twitter?
sure. My YouTube channel, which focuses on destigmatizing sex work as well as talking about the adult film industry, is the Love Mia Lee channel. You can find me on Twitter at Love Mia Lee, and my Tumblr is mialeetheentertainer.com.